Hello once again and welcome back to Zoned.Live, or welcome to Zoned.Live if this is your first time here. The WandaVision finale is just around the corner. The team being myself, a megabyte, Zachariah,
Z.
and Jellyman
Hi.
got together to discuss our thoughts and opinions on what we've seen so far, and what's potentially to come. Alright, there we go. With the intro out of the way, let's get started.
We literally have the full scale of you've got the fanboy that loves it, then you've got Nai who thinks it's okay, and then you've got Am who kind of doesn't like it, and then you've got Jay who's straight up not seen it.
It's like,
I don't dislike. I'm not in the middle. That I do like it.
You like it more for what it's leading into and stuff, rather than
Yeah.
All right, so guys, as someone who is completely a WandaVision virgin, what are the key points to keep in mind for someone that tried to watch the first episode and thought, what the is this? What does this have to do with the Marvel Universe?
Alright, you gotta have a lot of patience here. You have to ride out the first 5 episodes of complete and utter bullshit before anything happens.
5 episodes of bullshit.
we can.
No, I wouldn't say the first 5 episodes, but the first 2. At what point did they get out of the 80s or 70s?
Get out of the 80s.
As in, when does the sitcom stop being like retro and start going towards stuff that actually matters towards the MCU? Because the first 2 episodes, I'm sure, they're kind of irrelevant. It's just like alluding into things. Oh, look what might happen. Look at this one thing's in color.
It's called the setup. It's like the first 2 is you don't know why it's a sitcom, but they're telling you obviously this is all actually happening.
Yeah, but they could have done that.
They're not telling you why, because obviously it's the first episode. And then you slowly find out the basic premise of it. Jay, is there. It starts off as a sitcom starring Wanda and Vision, and you slowly find out why they're in a 50s sitcom, and then the 60s and the 70s or whatever. And how they got to that place to begin with, because it takes place supposedly just after Endgame, before Spider-Man 2, Far From Home. I think it was episode 4 was when we had the Monica episode where we saw things from, which is still I thought was a cool episode, seeing someone come back from the blip and seeing the immediate moments after the blip, how that played out.
And that reinforces my point though, Zach, where
what's that?
For me, it's more interesting, and this is what I said prior to it even coming out, of the grander scheme of the MCU. Her coming away from the blip has nothing to do with WandaVision whatsoever. It's something that happened in the MCU. It just happens to be a case of it shows her journey of what happened there, and obviously showed how she got to be inside the bubble or whatever. It's in WandaVision. But my point is, them showing that, in my opinion, doesn't elevate WandaVision, it elevates the MCU.
Well, we were talking about that earlier as well, in that you can't really look at any of these shows. They are part of that narrative. And you say it has nothing to do with WandaVision. Well, it has to do with one of the characters that stars in WandaVision, because we didn't know, we'd seen her as a kid in Captain Marvel, but I didn't know in the first episodes that it was the same person. But they just gave us a little bit of, but the whole show doesn't work without the MCU. But I don't think it's supposed to in the first place. The same way Endgame on its own doesn't work without everything that led to Endgame. Do you know what I mean?
No, but it's like I was saying before, it's hard to rate them as individual shows at this point, or individual movies at this point, right? But in the past, Marvel has successfully created some movies that would work by themselves. Yeah. Like Winter Soldier, like Civil War, etc. When it comes to WandaVision, so far...
Civil War. Sorry, no, just Civil War.
Civil War, I wouldn't say.
Established characters.
Yeah.
Well, but I would say if you know of the characters, Spider-Man, etc., and then you watch Civil War, it still does work. Does that make sense? But
if you only know of them, none of the emotional beats in the movie have any impact, because obviously you haven't seen the narrative leading to that moment. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't give a shit that Tony fell out with Steve. Mr. fucking robot suit fell out with Mr. fucking American flag. If I've never seen any of the Marvel stuff leading up to that, do you know what I mean?
They don't hit anyway.
Well, no, I mean, they do. You might not have Bucky killed his parents and stuff. Yeah. You might not have cared about that. No. A lot of people did. Do you know what I mean? And they wouldn't have if it was.
That did. But my point is, even if the emotional beats hadn't hit, it's still a decent action film. Does that make sense? It's still an okay action film. It still works by itself. Okay. It might be elevated because you see the rest of them, and you can obviously see how they all got to that point. But it still works by itself. For something I agree with you, like Endgame or Infinity Stone, Nad and his girlfriend came with us to watch it. You didn't know what the was going on. Like Civil War, you can still keep up with what's going on screen. You might not know how they work in the broader narrative of things, but it still does work a lot, at least a lot more so than some of the later films. But my point is, with WandaVision going in, remember me and you both thought this much. We both said the same things. We don't really care about WandaVision. We care more about how it's going to affect the MCU. Now, it seems like your sentiment has changed, whereas now you do care about WandaVision, whereas me, I'm still very much. If the last
because for me that it's they're both the same thing. Do you know what I mean? Like I care about WandaVision because it is another chunk of MCU. Do you know what I mean? And I love the fact that Feige's like, you know what? I don't care about the people that haven't seen the MCU. This show is for people that know the MCU. Otherwise, you're not gonna. It's made for the fans, not for because it's a part of their Disney Plus streaming service. They don't need to make a show that's for a mainstream audience. Do you know what I mean? They can put whatever they want.
But my point
Whereas I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier will be a lot more just straight up that you can watch it without ever watching any MCU, and it'll be fine because it's just an action spy thriller kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
When I watched let's look at the Marvel Netflix shows. Watching those, I would never watch any of those twice. Never. Right? There are certain Marvel movies that I have seen multiple times because I like them as movies. Man, I will never watch WandaVision again, ever. No matter, even if the ending is live, I will never watch it again.
Rewatchability for me isn't necessarily a necessity for me to enjoy something. Yeah, there's a lot of movies that I've not seen twice that I really enjoyed watching.
Once again, I do enjoy it, but I'm not gonna.
But okay, let me rephrase then. Not for me to enjoy it, but for me to consider something a good show or movie or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Rewatchability isn't necessarily. I haven't seen The Godfather that many times. I still loved it when I watched it. I don't know. I'm not knitting to rewatch stuff.
But there's another thing. When it comes to movies, movies are like an hour and a bit long. This is an entire series. Can you really put them on the whole rewatchability scale? I'm not gonna lie. Like I've got series out there that I fucking love. Like there's, for example, a lot of anime. I'm not watching Fullmetal Alchemist again.
I will say that's a valid point. But I'll also say cumulatively, WandaVision's what, 2.5 hours, 3 hours?
9 episodes, half an hour-ish long. So
20 minutes. Take away the bloody intros and
4.5 hours, guys.
But that's if they're half an hour each, right? They're about 20 minutes because of
a lot of them. They're 40 something with credits. They're about half an hour without the credits.
So 4.5 hours, 9 episodes. Half an hour.
Alright, when you put it like that, considering I watch Lord of the Rings like once every year, WandaVision.
For me, if something is good, like once again, I not for me yet. WandaVision doesn't stand on its own 2 feet, and once again, it's hard to look at anything in the MCU that stands on its own 2 feet. But at the same time, there are also movies in the MCU that do stand on their own 2 feet. If we found out prior that they was gonna have no links to the MCU, or let's say, for instance, an adventure where she went to a different universe and came back, but it didn't affect the MCU, I'd still watch it, but I wouldn't really care. I only care now because, once again, this is what I said to you going in, it only affects the grand narrative. All the things that we discussed prior is because, she's a mutant now, which means mutants now in the MCU.
I get that, but what I don't get is why that's a bad thing. Do you know what I mean? If that's what they want to do on Disney Plus, is give us like more MCU, that's like, it's basically more build-up.
I get Zach's point. It's like that was their intention moving forward.
Like Moon Knight, I would imagine Moon Knight would stand alone. Just this is purely speculation, but just based on what it is, Moon Knight as a show will probably stand alone way better than WandaVision. But I mean, just think about it. Even like from the name, it's called WandaVision. It's literally, we had those 3 episodes building up to it, which were literally just character trailers. This is basically just it's just development leading into Doctor Strange 2.
I agree with you on that front. My point is, if I'm looking at it for on its own merits, like I mean, say this, it's not. I'm not gonna say it, but it's not good. I don't think I personally.
I'll say it.
But it's not like cinema to Ant-Man. Does that make sense?
Oh dear God!
If Ant-Man was the first film that came out in the MCU, you're gonna go. Probably still go watch Ant-Man. But you get what I'm trying to say. The MCU has become something where, because if you're a fan of it, you kind of have to watch all of them, right? Which I'm not mad at all, because I love the MCU. Subjectively, I like all of it, right? But if I'm being objective, once again, WandaVision, it's got decent performances, it's got a decent budget, it's got a decent-ish plot, arguably, because obviously you haven't seen the whole picture yet.
I get that you say that it's, as a TV show, it doesn't do anything, but obviously fans of, like, I'll admit I didn't get most of these references, but fans of old sitcoms, like old American sitcoms, will like all the tributes that they throw out, because there's way more in there than I picked up the basics, you know, like, all right, this is a 50s episode, one of them old 50s sitcoms, this is Malcolm in the Middle, like, I could gather that much, this is the Modern Family episode, but beyond that, I didn't know what else was but everything, like, the actual plot of episode 1, the design is based on one sitcom, but the actual episode, what happens in the episode, is based on another apparently really famous sitcom episode. It was basically the first one that introduced the dream episode, you know, where it was all a dream at the end. It was the Dick Van Dyke Show.
I agree with what you just said there, but that doesn't mean that doesn't elevate the show for me.
Fans of the Dick Van Dyke Show would have really liked the first episode.
Yeah,
fans
exactly.
of Malcolm in the Middle and shows like that would have mad liked the third episode. Personally, I didn't like none of them sitcoms, so I haven't seen the Dick Van Dyke Show.
I've never seen the Dick Van Dyke Show.
So I'll take that back. I like Malcolm as a kid, but that was mainly for the dad. What's his name?
Yeah,
Bryan Cranston. There we go. Outside of that, a large part of me agrees more with Nye. I feel like as its own merits, it feels a lot more like in terms of.
It's almost like it knows it's in the MCU, so it can not get away with it, but it's just they don't have to wow anymore.
Like I say, I said to you earlier today, Nye, that I was wowed by introducing that Wanda was either a mutant or whatever she is. B, that she's got chaos magic as well, which if they follow the comics, that is going to lead to Cthulhu of all things being in the MCU.
Zach, once again, you're talking about the MCU. This is what I'm trying to say to you. All these things you're talking about don't happen within the series.
Yeah, everything is interesting in concept. As a show, I found it really boring.
If they stick the landing, it could be amazing, but we don't know yet. What I think they're going to do is I think it's going to be a bad ending. They're going to leave it so that it meant a lot of things going forwards. But this is why it's unfair to rate it as I rate it, because if that's the case, they're rating it as part of a bigger narrative, which obviously it is now.
In fact, that's another thing actually. It's something I don't think any of us have touched on enough during this discussion.
Villains.
No, not even that. Monica Rambeau.
Good point.
Where's she going?
She's going to be in Captain Marvel 2. She's already. That's where she was first announced.
In powers now.
Yeah, exactly. Like
she theoretically could become more powerful than Captain Marvel. Apparently.
I hope so. I hope this is their way of ousting Brie Larson.
Me too. I prefer her. I don't know. She's pretty bland in the show, but I don't mind the character. Do you know what I mean? Like I've enjoyed her so far.
More charismatic than Captain Marvel.
Is that like a personal attack or something? Or?
Villains we haven't spoken about. I was going to say, do you really think in a show that's paid so much attention to TV over the decades, they would introduce that TV trope of the annoying boss that, you know, he's not the villain, but he's always in the way. He's like, no, you can't do that. No, I can't let you have this. Do you know what I mean? And not have it pay off, especially after the last episode. A lot of people obviously think Mephisto is the big baddie. Other people think it's Nightmare. I didn't buy any of the theories that Hayward was Mephisto or Nightmare or whoever until the last episode where he said to Wanda,
you can bring him back or something like that.
Yeah, there's no reason whatsoever why he should have known that would be within the realm of what she can do, because they thought she had telekinesis and telepathy.
Is SWORD uniquely American? Because in the comics, I'm sure it's a global space peacekeeping force. Is it
exactly. Yeah, even more so. Yeah, but they've changed SWORD as well. In the MCU, it's sentient weapons is the SW. So they study sentient weapons, which Vision was one, and probably to their minds, Wanda is another.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
It could just be Vision, to be fair, because obviously he's like more like a robot. But yeah, so they changed that around. So I reckon after that line of him saying, because he wouldn't have known that, I reckon it's a lot more. Yeah, he's not who he claims.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know where White Vision falls in that whole equation.
I think there's going to be a Vision versus Vision fight.
Zach,
if White Vision is,
would you say that you're seeing double vision?
Oh my days.
If White Vision isn't Ultron, what's it going to be then? Is it going to be programmed by S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Could be that whole Vision on a fucking table, but it's taken from the comics from when, like you said, I did find it in the end. It was like you said, that happened basically. He died. They disassembled him. They managed to put him back together. So it could just be an emotionless robot-like Vision. Which, all right, that's from the comics. But personally, I think it would be a lot more interesting if that is.
I don't think it is, because the way when he was activated, the way it looked at his hands and stuff. That was like a very I'm alive kind of.
It must be Ultron, fam. I just don't want Ultron to be gone. They cannot fuck the ending. I can't see it. It might not be exactly what I want it to be, but I don't think it's going to be bad, personally. Just looking at it from a base level where you've got the Agatha now fighting Scarlet Witch, and then you've got Hayward or whatever. Then you also have to add in the White Vision. And the White Vision...
I have to add in Monica and Pietro. I'm a little bit worried about this final fight, though, just because I've been looking at the trailers, and we've only seen Wanda and Vision flying, and the Wanda flying doesn't look great. If it's just going to be more of those beams...
No.
When you actually deep it, when it comes to cinematography, it looks close to on par with like one of the lesser Marvel movies. But then when it comes to the special effects, it looks worse than Black Panther.
I'm hoping it's because they saved the big part of the budget for the finale fight.
Yeah,
And that's why the other stuff.
All right, I'd say we've talked for long enough. So there you have it. Those are our thoughts on WandaVision so far. We're very curious to see what the community has to say about Marvel's first Disney Plus series. Let us know in the comments below as per usual. Don't forget to like, subscribe, join us on Discord, and click all of the other fancy links down in the description. Also, keep an ear out. The full unedited version of this discussion, complete with swears and bloopers, will be out as a podcast soon enough. We've been Zoned Live. Thanks for watching.
Peace, guys.
Bye.
Catch you next
See you
time.
later.